The Emergent's Commander Ilara Chen stood on the observation deck of the Stellar Vanguard, watching the stars through the reinforced viewport. The massive flagship hung in the darkness at the edge of the Helios sector, surrounded by 200 vessels of the Nova-Terranian fleet. Each ship gleamed with a distinctive blue-silver sheen, their hulls marked with the emblem of a rising phoenix, the symbol of a civilization that had rebuilt itself from ashes. "All ships report ready for synchronized jump, Commander," said Strategic Officer Marcus Novak as he approached. His uniform was pristine, the dark gray material complemented by silver insignias that marked him as part of Nova Tyrannus's elite command structure. "Stealth systems are operating at peak efficiency. The Helios monitoring stations haven't detected our presence." Ilara nodded, her amber eyes reflecting the distant starlight. "And our colonization vessels prepared for immediate deployment once we secure the system," Marcus confirmed. "The engineering teams are eager to begin work on the ancient facility." For 400 years, Nova Tyrannus had remained hidden from the rest of humanity and the numerous alien species that made up the Galactic Alliance. While Earth and its official colonies engaged in noisy diplomacy and territorial disputes, the Nova Tyrranians had watched from afar, developing technologies that surpassed anything known to the Alliance. Their origin story was taught to every child on Nova Tyrannus. The colony ship Artemis had veered off course during the early days of human expansion, damaged by an unexplained phenomenon that many now believed was no accident. The survivors had landed on a resource-rich planet in an unmapped sector, establishing a colony that chose to remain hidden, observing the galaxy's development while preparing for the moment when they would emerge. That moment had finally arrived. The Ceteri and Drovians have withdrawn most of their forces from Helios to support their border dispute, Ilara noted, gesturing to several points on the tactical display. The holographic map showed the Helios sector in perfect detail, the result of centuries of covert observation. "The system will be minimally defended for at least 3 months. 3 months is all we need," Marcus replied. "Once our quantum anchors are in place, no force in the Alliance could remove us without catastrophic losses." The door to the observation deck slid open with a whisper. Director Lyra Cato entered, her civilian attire standing out among the military uniforms. As head of the Science Directorate, she represented the civilian leadership's interests in Operation Revelation. "The Council vote is complete," Lyra announced, her voice calm but carrying undeniable gravity. 30-0 in favor. Operation Revelation is officially sanctioned. Ilara felt the weight of history settle on her shoulders. Generations of Nova Tyrranians had lived and died never seeing another world beyond their home system. They had dedicated their lives to preparing for this moment, when their hidden colony would finally step onto the galactic stage. "Any concerns from the Analysis Division?" Ilara asked. Lyra shook her head. "All data confirms the Helios sector is ideal for our needs. The 4th planet can be transformed within 2 years. The asteroid belt contains sufficient resources to fuel our expansion for centuries." She paused, meeting Ilara's gaze. "And most importantly, the ancient facility on Helios Prime remains intact. If the records from the Artemis are correct, it contains technological knowledge that predates all known civilizations." Ilara turned back to the viewport, where the real stars shone like distant beacons. Each point of light represented a potential future for her people. Nova Tyrranian children were taught to look at the night sky, not with wonder but with purpose. Those stars were their inheritance. "The timing couldn't be better," Marcus reported, checking the latest intelligence feeds. "The Alliance patrol vessels are on the far side of the sector. The monitoring stations are operating with skeleton crews. Most of the defensive platforms were decommissioned when the Ceteri and Drovians redirected their resources." Ilara straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. She thought of all the commanders before her who had trained for this day, who had lived and died preparing for an opportunity that had never come in their lifetimes. She was the one who would finally give the order. "Signal all ships," she commanded. "Synchronized jump in 3 minutes. Weapons on standby, but ready." We take this system without bloodshed if possible. Marcus nodded and began relaying the orders. Throughout the hidden Nova-Terranian fleet, commanders prepared their crews for the jump that would reveal their existence to the galaxy. "You're making history today, Commander," Lyra said quietly. Ilara's expression remained resolute, betraying none of the emotion she felt. "For Nova Tyrannus," she replied. "For Nova Tyrannus," Lyra and Marcus echoed. As the countdown reached 0, Ilara gave the final command. "Execute jump. The age of hiding ends today." Across the Helios sector, hundreds of ships appeared simultaneously, their stealth systems disengaging as they took position around every strategic point. After centuries of isolation, Nova Tyrannus had emerged, and the galaxy would never be the same. Diplomat Cairo Reed stifled a yawn as he walked through the quiet corridors of monitoring station Helios 3. This inspection tour was supposed to be a respite from the tense negotiations between the Ceteri Imperium and the Drovian Collective. The Helios sector had become a backwater since both powers withdrew their forces to support their territorial dispute elsewhere. Only a skeleton crew maintained the Alliance's presence here. "More coffee, sir?" asked the station administrator, a tall Phasian with iridescent skin, as they entered the main control room. "Please," Cairo replied, straightening his formal blue diplomatic uniform. "Then I'll need to see the resource allocation reports for the outer moons." The administrator nodded and turned toward the refreshment area. At that exact moment, every emergency light in the control room flashed crimson. Alarms blared with deafening intensity. "What's happening?" Cairo shouted over the noise. A young human sensor operator's face had gone pale. "Sir, ships are appearing throughout the system. Hundreds of them." Cairo rushed to the main display. The holographic map of the Helios sector blinked with new contacts appearing simultaneously across the entire system. Ships materialized near jump gates, resource-rich moons, defense platforms, and every communication relay. "Is it the Ceteri returning?" Cairo demanded. "Or Drovian reinforcements?" The sensor operator shook her head, fingers flying across the control panel. "Unknown design, sir. I've never seen ships like these." "Put them on screen," Cairo ordered. The main view screen filled with images of sleek vessels unlike any in the Alliance database. They moved with extraordinary precision, taking position around key infrastructure with a coordination that seemed impossible for such a large fleet. The communications officer turned from his station, his eyes wide with shock. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the largest vessel. They identify themselves as human." "Human," Cairo repeated in disbelief. "From Earth?" "No, sir. They say they represent a colony called Nova Tyrannus. It's not in any registry." Cairo's diplomatic training kicked in. "Open a channel to their command ship." The main screen changed to show a woman in a dark gray uniform with unfamiliar insignia. Her expression was calm, controlled, and utterly confident. "This is Commander Ilara Chen of the Nova-Terranian flagship Stellar Vanguard," she stated. "The Helios sector is now under Nova-Terranian protection and administration. All current residents may continue their operations under our oversight. We come with peaceful intent but will defend our claim if necessary." Cairo stepped forward. "This is Diplomat Cairo Reed of the Galactic Alliance. You have no recognized claim to this system. Your actions constitute an illegal seizure of territory under Alliance protection." Commander Chen's expression didn't change. "We are aware of Alliance regulations, Diplomat Reed. We've studied them carefully for generations. You'll find our claim is based on historical records predating the Alliance itself." Cairo noticed something odd about the Nova-Terranian ships on the tactical display. They had positioned themselves with perfect spacing, creating what appeared to be an interlocking defensive grid covering the entire system. "Your unannounced arrival with military vessels violates multiple Alliance protocols," Cairo said, trying to sound authoritative despite his growing unease. "We will address all diplomatic concerns," Commander Chen replied. "For now, we suggest you contact your superiors. They will want to know about Nova Tyrannus's emergence." The transmission ended. Caro turned to the communications officer. Send an emergency message to Alliance headquarters. Priority Alpha. Over the next 6 hours, Caro watched helplessly as the Nova-Terranian fleet secured the entire Helios sector without firing a single shot. Their ships moved with impossible grace, using propulsion technology that allowed maneuvers no known human ships could perform. When a small Centauri scout ship jumped into the system, the Nova-Terranians simply surrounded it, scanned it thoroughly, and escorted it back to the jump point. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. The Centauri Imperium, the Drovian Collective, and the Earth Unified Government are all demanding information." Caro nodded grimly. "Tell them what we know, which is almost nothing." On the bridge of the Stellar Vanguard, Commander Ilara Chen received the flood of incoming transmissions with calm resolve. "They're demanding explanations and threatening sanctions," reported Communications Officer Sanavega, sorting through the messages. "The Earth government is particularly upset. They claim we're misrepresenting ourselves as human." "Send them all our prepared statement," Ilara replied, "and arrange secure channels for their representatives. It's time they learned about the colony that's been watching them for centuries." Marcus approached her with a tactical update. "The system is secured, Commander. No casualties or resistance. Our technological advantage has them completely stunned." Ilara nodded, surveying the star map showing Nova-Terranian ships positioned throughout Helios. "We've had 400 years to prepare for this moment, Marcus. For generations, we've watched from the shadows as others fought over territories and resources. Nova-Terranus has observed long enough. Now we take our place at the table." As diplomatic vessels from across the galaxy began jumping into the system, Ilara stood ready to introduce the galaxy to humanity's most secretive colony and to reveal why they had chosen this moment and this system to finally emerge from the shadows. Commander Ilara Chen stood inside the ancient chamber, her breath visible in the cool air. The walls around her glowed with faint azure symbols that no living person had seen for millennia. 3 weeks had passed since Nova-Terranus' dramatic appearance in the Helios sector, and now she understood why her ancestors had chosen this place. "These readings are unlike anything in our records," said Chief Scientist Ren Nakamura. He moved his scanner slowly across the strange metallic walls. "The energy signature is still active after, who knows how long? 20,000 years, maybe more." Ilara touched the cool surface, feeling the slight vibration beneath her fingertips. "And you're certain this wasn't built by any known species?" "Completely certain," Ren replied. "The material composition doesn't match anything in our database. The energy technology is, well, it's beyond even our understanding." Marcus stood at the entrance to the chamber, keeping watch as the science team worked. "Commander, I think we need to consider what this means about the Artemis." Ilara nodded slowly. The truth was becoming clear. The colony ship that brought their ancestors to Nova-Terranus 400 years ago hadn't veered off course by accident. The ship's records had always been suspiciously damaged around the time of the landing. "They knew," she said quietly. "They deliberately sought isolation. They came to Nova-Terranus to prepare us for this moment." Ren looked up from his scanner. "But why? Why hide this information from Earth and the other colonies?" "Perhaps they feared how others would use it," Ilara suggested. "Or perhaps they were following instructions from whoever built this place." Deep beneath the surface of Helios Prime, the facility stretched for kilometers, a vast complex of chambers and machinery that hummed with dormant power. This discovery would change everything about Operation Revelation. The Nova-Terranians hadn't just seized a valuable star system. They had reclaimed something that might have been waiting for them all along. The confrontation. Across the galaxy, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance, diplomat Caro Reed struggled to maintain order as representatives from 36 species shouted over each other. The massive circular room echoed with angry voices as news of Nova-Terranus' discovery spread. "These humans appeared from nowhere and seized a critical system," bellowed the Centauri ambassador, pounding his crystalline fist on the table. Their technology suggests military capabilities that violate numerous treaties. The Drovian collective demands immediate action, added another representative, her tentacles waving agitatedly. This Nova Tyrannus claims to be human, yet Earth denies knowledge of their existence. Caro stood at the central podium, trying to calm the gathering. After the initial shock of the Nova Tyranian appearance, the Alliance had appointed him special envoy to the situation. It was proving to be the most challenging assignment of his career. "Please, honored representatives," Caro called out, his voice amplified through the chamber. "We must establish proper diplomatic relations before rushing to judgment. The Nova Tyranian delegation claims to have crucial information." "A convenient excuse for territorial expansion," interrupted Admiral Vexra. The blue-skinned Phasian had been given command of the newly formed Alliance Response Force, a hastily assembled fleet drawn from multiple species. "My ships stand ready to remove these invaders and restore order to Helios." The Earth representative, a stern woman named Director Harper, rose from her seat. "Earth neither supports nor condemns Nova Tyrannus' actions at this time. We request more information about their origins. If they are indeed human, they deserve a chance to explain themselves." "How convenient for Earth," sneered the Drovian delegate. "Perhaps this is your secret colony after all. A military outpost, disguised as a lost settlement." Director Harper shook her head firmly. "I assure you, Nova Tyrannus is not an Earth operation. Our historical records show the colony ship Artemis was lost 4 centuries ago. We believed all hands perished." Admiral Vexra stepped forward, his military uniform adorned with medals from previous campaigns. "Words will not resolve this crisis. I have assembled a fleet of 100 ships. We will depart for Helios in 2 days. These Nova Tyranians will withdraw or face the consequences." Caro realized the situation was slipping out of diplomatic control. "Admiral, I strongly advise against military action. The Nova Tyranians seized the system without a single casualty. Their technology appears significantly advanced. Conflict could lead to unnecessary losses. Are you suggesting we allow anyone to seize territory simply because they have superior technology?" The Admiral asked coldly. "I'm suggesting we learn more before risking lives," Caro replied. "My report indicates they are searching for something specific in the Helios system, something they claim is of urgent importance to all species." "Another convenient claim," the Admiral said dismissively. "My fleet departs in 2 days. Diplomacy can continue in parallel, but the Alliance will demonstrate that such actions have consequences." As the chamber erupted in debate again, Caro received an urgent message on his secure communicator. His eyes widened as he read the report from the observation team in Helios. The Nova Tyranians had discovered something beneath the surface of Helios Prime. Something ancient and powerful, something that might explain their sudden appearance. 2 days later, Admiral Vexra stood on the bridge of the Righteous Defender, flagship of the Alliance Response Force. Around him, 100 warships from 7 different species prepared to jump into the Helios sector. The fleet represented the largest combined military operation in decades. "Final system checks complete," Admiral reported his second-in-command. "All ships report ready for jump." Vexra nodded, his blue skin darkening with determination. "Commence countdown. Jump in 3 minutes." The Admiral had reviewed all available data on the Nova Tyranian ships. While their technology appeared advanced, he was confident in his overwhelming numerical advantage. 100 ships against their 200 might seem like poor odds, but the Alliance vessels carried the best weapon systems from multiple civilizations. No single faction, especially not some hidden human colony, could stand against their combined might. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving an urgent transmission from Diplomat Reed. He's requesting that we delay the jump." Vexra frowned. "Put him through." The main view screen activated, showing Caro Reed's face. The diplomat looked exhausted but determined. "Admiral, I've just received new information from Helios. The Nova-Terranians have activated something in the ancient facility. You need to see this before proceeding. This is a military operation now, diplomat, Vexra replied firmly. Your concerns have been noted, but, Admiral, Cairo interrupted, they've sent us proof of what they've found. It changes everything. Reluctantly, Vexra agreed to review the data. What he saw in the next transmission left him speechless. The countdown to jump was paused as senior officers gathered to assess the implications. On Helios Prime, Commander Ilara Chen stood before the central chamber of the ancient facility. After 3 weeks of careful study, the Nova-Terranian scientists had finally unlocked its secrets. The massive circular room now glowed with pulsing blue energy that flowed through channels in the floor, walls, and ceiling. The translation is complete, Ren announced, looking up from his datapad. These aren't just decorative symbols, they're a message. A warning. Ilara studied the glowing script that now made sense for the first time. How old is this facility, exactly? At least 50,000 years, Ren replied. It predates all known civilizations in this sector. Whoever built it possessed technology far beyond anything we've seen. Director Lyra Kato approached, her expression grave. The quantum dating confirms it. This facility was built by the precursors themselves. The precursors, a civilization known only through fragments of legend and occasional archaeological discoveries. They had supposedly dominated the galaxy hundreds of thousands of years ago, before mysteriously vanishing. Most scientists considered them semi-mythical, but the evidence before them was undeniable. And the warning? Ilara asked. Lyra gestured to the central platform, where a holographic display had activated. It showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with several regions marked in pulsing red. They were monitoring something that enters our galaxy in cycles. The next incursion is calculated to begin within 50 years, Ren added. That's why the Artemis was guided here. The ship's AI must have detected the facility's dormant beacon and altered course accordingly. Ilara stared at the holographic display, watching as simulated waves of destruction spread from the marked entry points. So our ancestors didn't choose isolation. They were chosen. The facility's records are clear, Lyra confirmed. The precursors seeded defense stations throughout the galaxy before they disappeared. This is one of them. It contains technological knowledge specifically designed to combat the incursion. And somehow, they selected humans, specifically our ancestors, as inheritors, Marcus added, his voice tinged with awe and disbelief. Not just any humans, Ren corrected. The genetic records in the facility database show they were monitoring Earth for thousands of years. The Artemis passengers matched specific genetic markers the precursors had identified as compatible with their technology. Ilara took a deep breath, absorbing the implications. So everything, our isolation, our technological development, Operation Revelation, was leading to this moment. We're not just claiming a star system. We're reclaiming our purpose. The Alliance fleet will be here soon, Marcus reminded her. They've assembled 100 ships. Should we prepare defensive positions? Ilara smiled for the first time since entering the facility. No, prepare a demonstration instead. Admiral Vexra stood frozen as he watched the transmission from Helios Prime. On the viewport screen, a single Nova-Terranian ship hovered above the planet's surface. It was smaller than most of their vessels, apparently unarmed. This is a trick, one of his officers suggested. They're trying to delay our response. Perhaps, Vexra admitted. But if what they've shown us about the precursor facility is true. The transmission continued, showing Commander Ilara Chen standing on the bridge of the small vessel. Admiral Vexra, to demonstrate our intentions and capabilities, we will now activate a small portion of the defensive technology we've recovered. The camera view shifted to show the exterior of the ship. A soft blue glow surrounded it, pulsing gently. Then, without any visible propulsion, the vessel accelerated from standstill to incredible speed in an instant. It traversed the entire Helios system in seconds, stopping with impossible precision next to one of the outer monitoring stations. "That's impossible," whispered Vexra's science officer. "The inertial forces alone should have destroyed the ship and everyone aboard." The demonstration continued. The Nova-Terranian vessel projected a field of energy that temporarily disabled, then reactivated, an entire defense platform without damaging it. Finally, it created what appeared to be a localized space-time distortion, effectively becoming invisible to all sensors while remaining visually present. "We've barely scratched the surface of what the precursor facility contains," Ilara explained as the transmission returned to her. "But what we've discovered isn't meant to be used against the Alliance or any current civilization. It was designed to defend against something much worse, something that's coming." Vexra turned to his officers, seeing the same mixture of awe and concern on their faces. "Hold position," he ordered. "Do not proceed with the jump." 1 week later, diplomat Caro Reed stood in the newly established Helios Diplomatic Center, watching representatives from 27 species mingling with Nova-Terranian officials. The crisis had been averted, at least temporarily. After seeing the demonstration and reviewing the evidence from the precursor facility, the Alliance Council had voted to recognize Nova-Terranus' claim to Helios with certain conditions. "Quite a change from the shouting match in the council chamber," Director Harper commented as she joined him by the viewport. Caro nodded. "Fear gives way to curiosity remarkably quickly when faced with both a new threat and new technology." "Do you believe their story?" Harper asked. "About this coming incursion? About being chosen by the precursors?" "The evidence is compelling," Caro replied. "And they've agreed to share the defensive technology with the Alliance. That's not the action of conquerors. Unless it's the first step in a longer game," Harper mused. "Earth's historians are still piecing together the Artemis records. There are inconsistencies in the Nova-Terranian account." Across the room, Commander Ilara Chen was deep in conversation with Admiral Vexra. The initial hostility between them had given way to cautious professional respect. "We need to establish joint training protocols," Ilara was saying. "Your pilots will need time to adapt to the inertial dampening fields. The neural interface takes even longer to master." Vexra nodded reluctantly. "My tactical officers have reviewed your defense grid proposal. It's impressive, but implementing it across Alliance space would require resources beyond our current capabilities. That's why we're starting with key strategic points," Ilara explained. "Helios will serve as the first node in the network. With your shipyards and our technology, we can expand outward at an optimal rate." In a quieter corner of the center, Ren Nakamura shared data with scientists from 6 different species. The initial findings from the precursor facility had been authenticated by multiple independent experts, lending credibility to Nova-Terranus' claims. "The temporal markers in the warning are consistent with other precursor artifacts we've discovered," confirmed a Drovian researcher. "If their predictions are accurate, the first signs of the incursion should appear here, near the galactic rim." She pointed to a star cluster on the holographic display. "We've already dispatched long-range scout vessels to establish monitoring stations," Ren replied. "Early detection will be crucial." Caro watched these exchanges with cautious optimism. After centuries of isolation, Nova-Terranus had emerged dramatically onto the galactic stage, bringing both disruption and opportunity. Whether they were truly humanity's chosen defenders or something more complex remained to be seen. "I think we're witnessing the beginning of a new era," he said to Harper. "For better or worse, the galaxy's balance of power has shifted." "Indeed," Harper agreed, "and Earth's relationship with its long-lost children remains complicated." On the observation deck of the diplomatic center, Commander Ilara Chen briefly stepped away from the discussions to look out at the stars. The stellar vanguard hung in orbit above Helios Prime, its sleek form a testament to Nova-Terranian ingenuity. Around it, Alliance vessels maintained a watchful presence, no longer poised for attack, but not fully trusting either. "Satisfied with our progress?" Lyra asked as she joined Ilara at the viewport. "It's a start," Ilara replied. The Alliance accepted our immediate claims, but they're still suspicious of our long-term intentions. As they should be, Lyra said with a slight smile. We've shared what they needed to know, but not everything we discovered. Ilara nodded slightly. The precursors left us more than defensive technology. They left us a choice. In the secure levels beneath Helios Prime, beyond the areas shown to Alliance officials, Nova-Terranian scientists continued to unlock deeper secrets of the ancient facility. The true nature of the coming threat, the real reason the precursors had chosen human inheritors, and the ultimate purpose of their technology. These revelations would reshape the galaxy far more dramatically than the sudden appearance of a hidden human colony. For now, Nova Terranus had achieved its immediate goals. They had claimed their place among the stars, secured the precursor facility, and begun preparations for the greater challenge to come. The next phase of their emergence would unfold carefully, deliberately, as they had planned for generations. As Ilara watched Alliance and Nova-Terranian officials working together, she felt the weight of her people's long isolation giving way to something new. A future where humanity's lost colony might become its greatest defender, or perhaps something else entirely. The age of hiding had ended. The age of revelation had begun.